when you look at Africa, Kenya is actually being rated as among the top 3 countries when it comes to crypto adoption.
Assets adoption.
Yeah, crypto assets adoption. Basically, that attracted us as A&D Forensics to be able to set up here. And through our Kenyan office, we can now be able even to serve the likes of Ethiopia, the likes of Rwanda, the likes of Tanzania. Even right now, we are currently working on developing a training program for the law enforcement officers who are based in Uganda. Right now, as the world continues to evolve, you can't be able to tell the difference between a real human being and a robot. The other day we saw when deepfakes are being created, and we have got images of these prominent people, politicians. We have been seeing it not only in conducting transactions, but even in campaigns, voting, right? Yes, whereby people are voting and then you wonder, this person is voting from this particular place and the same person voted in a particular place.
Hi, would you please introduce yourself and what you do at your company?
So my name is Sewe Wycliffe, and I'm a certified cryptocurrency investigator. I'm also serving as the managing partner for A&D Forensics East Africa. Basically, with our institution, we do help the law enforcement to trace and investigate crypto-related crimes.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, above that, we also work alongside the financial institutions when it comes to compliance with matters of virtual assets.
Okay.
With that being said and done, we also do offer specific tailor-made trainings for law enforcement, ranging from certified cryptocurrency investigation courses, certified compliance courses, alongside certified and blockchain for accountants. So those are the range of courses which we currently offer in-house to ensure that we build enough capacity in the market outside here. Yes.
So not just the forensic part of the business, you also do the training.
Exactly, because this being an emerging technology, so far we don't have quite a good number of people who are still practicing it. So instead of just focusing on the line of offering the crypto forensics bit, we are also trying as much as we can to enlighten and train the law enforcement so they can be able to know anytime crypto-related crime has been reported, they know exactly what are they supposed to do. Yes.
Interesting. Now, understanding the peculiar nature of East Africa.
Yes.
Right? How do you see the role of blockchain forensics evolving as more organizations in East Africa adopt cryptocurrency and digital assets?
Yeah, and with that being said and done, of course, cryptocurrency is currently being adopted within the East African region. The other day, there was statistics which were released by one of the blockchain analytics firms, globally known as Chainalysis.
Yes.
And when you look at the top 30 of the nations which were listed in that particular list, 2 of them were basically coming from East Africa, and that was Kenya and Ethiopia. And that clearly tells you that East Africa, there is clearly massive adoption of cryptocurrency. So then it means that blockchain forensics is actually one of the skills which will be needed within this region. That being said and done, of course, we've been also having quite a number of cases which are being reported to us by some of the financial institutions, where you find that some money which has been defrauded from the banks, usually the perpetrators convert it to cryptocurrency. So when you look at such kind of landscape, it clearly tells you that as time goes by and as the market adoption for cryptocurrency increases, then high chances we are going to need more and more blockchain forensics experts within East Africa in general.
Okay, talking about blockchain itself now, what do you think is the reason for the widespread adoption in East Africa, especially in Kenya?
Yeah, when you look at blockchain in general, of course, some of the inherent properties which is basically making it to be adopted more so in Kenya is because it has got that decentralized nature. And when I'm talking about the decentralized nature, when you compare it with the traditional kind of systems which we have, with the traditional systems, they normally operate under a central governing body. So you'll realize most of the time, anytime there is an attack which has happened, most of the operations usually get paralyzed. In Kenya, for example, we have been having instances where the government is reporting attacks in some of its sectors. For example, eCitizen is one of the platforms which we normally use in Kenya, where citizens can be able to acquire government services. And you realize anytime, maybe probably there is an attack which has happened, it paralyzes most of the operations. So when it comes to blockchain, you'll notice that how it operates in a way that most of the system itself is decentralized. So it means there is no any single point of failure. Yeah. So in the case of an attack, then high chances are the operations will still resume, given that most of the information are stored in different parts of the system. Yeah.
Okay. That broad being said, there's a lot of government regulations towards blockchain and cryptocurrency.
Yes.
And the taxes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How do you think this would affect the growth of blockchain and cryptocurrency within the region?
Yeah, of course, it's a conversation which especially the government and the regulatory bodies have been having. At the moment in Kenya, we don't have like a laid out regulatory framework which guides how blockchain is supposed to operate in the country. Mm-hmm. But that does not necessarily mean that we don't have blockchain operations in the country. It's only that we don't have that legal framework yet. And given that already it's something which it's currently being discussed at the government level, and from tomorrow, actually, we are having a conference which has been set aside where crypto regulation is going to take the center stage of the discussions. And you'll notice that once we have legal framework in place, of course, it will basically boost the massive adoption of crypto and blockchain related services within the country, because most of the investors who are basically hiring to setting up operations in Kenya, they'll be able to know that there are legal frameworks. So it means that operating blockchain services will be more or less safer, given that at least now we'll be having regulations in place to protect them as well, together with the users who are basically engaging themselves in crypto-related activities. So once we have legal frameworks and regulations, I'm seeing a scenario where we are going to have a more increased in terms of usage of crypto-related activities in the country as well. Yeah.
Mm. And I'm sure the certification also would help that. How do these certifications enhance your work in investigating complex financial crime?
Yeah. So with the certification trainings that we are currently offering, as I mentioned to you earlier, we are basically trying to build the capacity of both security professional investigators and law enforcement, and more so for those who are in line with investigating crypto-related crime. Okay. So with certifications, they're very much important because it clearly specializes. Right, it clearly specializes in crypto-related crimes. It clearly specializes on how one can be able to track and investigate. So you will notice that individuals or those law enforcement officers who have undergone through these trainings, whenever they come across such kind of cases, they know exactly what to look at. In case they experience some of the complex cases, that is when they will always reach out to us as A&D Forensics, so that we can always be able to brainstorm together and see how best we can be able to take and help them out in that particular case. So certifications, yes, they're very much useful, and also in the banking sector. And maybe just to give an example, there is a bank which we are currently trying to help out with the investigations. And the one thing that came out strongly is that most of the security officers within the banking industry, they do not understand how the crypto ecosystem works. So in as much as we are helping them out with investigations, we are also trying to educate their staff and security personnel, so that in case there could be a similar occurrence in the future, they'll be able to know how to navigate such kind of crimes. Yeah.
Okay. So with your work at A&D Forensics, how do you ensure organizations comply with global AML and KYC regulation while operating within the Africa unique economic landscape?
Yeah, sure. So currently, what you're basically doing as A&D Forensics, we are basically building up a solution called the compliance as a service. And with that one, we're basically building it with the African landscape in mind. And given that Africa is a very unique landscape, and when it comes to matters of costing and every other thing, so those are some of the things that we're basically taking into consideration. So our solution will be basically targeting the Web3 startups, those people who are already starting within the Web3 space. And with the solution, we'll be giving them all the services which are needed in order to ensure that they remain compliant in terms of AML checks, the KYCs, and everything. So it is a solution which we are currently building, and it's almost approaching completion. And then once that is done, we'll basically start onboarding some of the Web3 companies that we currently have within the country. Yes.
Great. What advice would you give to young professionals in Africa looking to specialize in digital forensics?
Yeah, so as you can see, I'm also young.
Yes.
I'm also young, and with this emerging technology, of course, it basically needs a lot of passion. If you're the kind of a person who is so much passionate when it comes to solving crime. Personally, the main reason why I found myself in this particular space is because ever since when I was growing up, I'm such kind of person who needed to live in a community which is a little bit safe and secure. So that's actually been my driving force ever since I was young. So finding myself into the blockchain forensic field is something which I foresaw myself being in, given that all along I've always wanted to be in a community which there is a lot of safety. So for the young people who are basically aspiring to become blockchain forensics, of course, I would highly encourage them. Passion is number one thing, because you really need to be passionate in whatever you're doing. And then number two, to get the needed skills, the right skills. Because as you all know, it's a field which is still new in the market. So you basically need to align yourself and get those institutions like ours who are basically helping young people to nurture them, grow their talent, so they can be able to also become a qualified blockchain forensic specialist.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask, what makes A&D Forensics different?
Yeah.
Why did you choose this particular space?
Yes.
Why did you also choose this market? I mean, you would have set up in Ethiopia.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good question. And the main reason why we found ourselves in Kenya, basically, we of course normally check on statistics on regions where a lot of crypto uptake is so strong. And when you look at Africa, Kenya is actually being rated as among the top 3 countries when it comes to crypto adoption.
Assets adoption.
Yeah, crypto assets adoption. And again, Kenya, for the longest period of time, is basically known as one of the regions which controls the economy within the East African. Exactly. So when you look at the qualities which Kenya has, basically that attracted us as A&D Forensics to be able to set up here. And through our Kenyan office, we can now be able even to serve the likes of Ethiopia, the likes of Rwanda, the likes of Tanzania. Even right now, we are currently working on developing a training program for the law enforcement officers who are based in Uganda. We have been engaging them, so it becomes easy because Kenya looks more central to the East African ecosystem. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. Any parting words? Any parting words? Or rather, I would say, if you were given the opportunity to be the crypto chief
Yes.
in Kenya.
Yeah.
I mean, from the government side.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
What are maybe 3 or 4 things you would do to ensure to keep the sanity of the industry, to keep the integrity of the industry, and then to grow the crypto or the blockchain industry, as it were?
Okay, good. So, if I was supposed to be elected as the chief of the crypto community within the Kenyan ecosystem, and more so serving from the government sector, as you've mentioned, of course, number one was basically now to lay out the proper frameworks which are needed within the ecosystem. I think that is one key barriers and challenges which we've been experiencing. And especially the other day when I was having a conversation with my friends from the legal side, you find anytime there is a legal issue which needs to be handled from their end, it becomes a challenge simply because you don't have like proper laid out framework. So I think laying out that framework will be my number one focus. And of course, number two is to make sure that I develop a program which will ensure that a lot of capacity building and awareness is basically done across the region, because you'll notice that most of the crypto related scams and crimes which are basically happening within the country, if you screen them correctly, you'll notice that most usually fall into scam because they really don't know how a scam looks like, or they really don't know how crypto basically works. So basically laying out a proper a guideline on how that awareness will be done. And of course, number three is to ensure that I'll be able to develop good platforms to make sure that with the Web3 startups which are currently being formed, they don't get more or less like challenged when it comes to taxing, because I know that has been more or less like a very tough talk. The other day when the Kenya Revenue Authority mentioned that they're developing a system which will now be able to tax the crypto guys, right? So many are now living into fearful. They're like, okay, so how is government going to go about this? So basically, I will also want to educate them to know, in as much as, yes, paying taxes is our responsibility, but try as much as I can to not tax them in a way to harm them, but tax them in a way they'll also be able to develop and thrive in this particular economy. Yes, and number four is basically to try as much as I can to also roll out the likes of CBDCs. I don't know whether you've heard about the central bank digital currencies, of course, which the government, most central banks of the world, they're basically trying to do some studies in relation just to know how they'll be able to incorporate them within their central bank framework, and also to ensure that there'll be a lot of inclusion when it comes to financial inclusion, when it comes to matters of money reaching hands to many. So I think laying those kind of frameworks will basically help me, especially as a crypto chief, to ensure that the crypto community basically thrives within our nation as a country. Yes. Yeah.
We say the young people, right?
Yes.
And when I mean young people, I mean teenagers and preteens.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Are the future,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
What do you think we can do to get them engaged in blockchain technology?
Yeah, so with the young people who are basically, in Kenya, we normally refer to them as the Gen Z. And if you've been following keenly, the OG enough, and if you've been following keenly the political landscape of Kenya, a few months down the line, we saw the Gen Zs came out in large numbers, trying as much as they can to maybe probably talk, air out grievances. And one thing that stood out is that the lack of opportunities within the government also. So you'll notice that cryptocurrency being one of the evolving and growing landscape that we currently have, if at all, and of course I've been seeing government try as much as it can to make sure that we have got quality internet penetration across the country, because for you probably for you to invest in crypto-related activities, once you just have the right skills, you also need a place where there is a strong internet connection. And with the right, strong internet connectivity within the country, then through that, and a little bit of some trainings and awareness, then with the young people now, they'll be able to tap into the opportunities which are currently arising within the cryptocurrency ecosystem. So I think those are some of the key things which needs to be put in place to make sure that our young people basically get motivated so that they can also get to participate within the crypto industry. Yes.
Okay. Finally,
yes,
it would be digital assets, right? Which is Africa has a digital identity issue, right?
Okay.
Which is being able to have the identity of everybody being maybe managed or controlled by the government and things like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think recently there was some firm who came to Kenya and was getting people's data by scanning their eyes, promising them a lot of things. And That's digital identity or digital assets is one of the best use case for blockchain technology.
Sure.
Right? And then being able to transfer this asset safely.
Sure.
The question is, how do we in East Africa or in Kenya ensure that, what do you see as the possibility of being able to use blockchain for digital identity management or safekeeping?
Yeah, and thank you so much for asking that question. And it's not necessary, not only in digital identity. I know that when it comes to how the traditional companies have been operating, even in supply chain, the land registry, there is a lot of things which need to be done.
Especially land registry.
Especially land registry in the matter of title deed. So with the blockchain is basically revolutionizing such kind of industries, and digital identity is one of them. And digital identity is also a global problem, and more so with the emergence of artificial intelligence. Right now, as the world continues to evolve, you can't be able to tell the difference between a real human being and a robot. The other day we saw when deepfakes are being created, and we have got images of these prominent people, politicians, and with this kind of videos which are being developed left, right, and center, people are spreading hate messages across. And if you don't have a proper system which can be able to tell whether that's a true human being, then as time goes by, that will be a very, very serious problem. So I know you mentioned about that company which actually created a lot of headlines when they were collecting people's data, iris, and every other thing. And when I went through studying their white paper, the kind of solution they were basically aiming to solve was to try as much as they can to solve that issue of digital identity, of which to me it's a very genuine problem.
Yes.
And more so in East Africa and Kenya in general. And if a blockchain is one of the ecosystems where this can happen, then I'm seeing a scenario even government bodies are basically going to embrace blockchain to ensure that they have this in place to limit situations where we have deep fakes and people who are not real when it comes to conducting transactions. We have been seeing it not only in conducting transactions, but even in campaigns, voting. Right? Yes, whereby people are voting, and then you wonder, this person is voting from this particular place, and the same person voted in a particular place. So we really need a system which can be able to solve digital identity in order for the government now to be able to have the operations intact and to limit such kind of frauds which emanate from the digital identity aspect. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Most welcome.
For your time.